I used to feel like I always had to be in a hurry and like I was behind and I was always hustling and I was always grinding and nothing ever felt like enough. And it's like every single goal that I reached, it still just didn't feel like enough. And when I was really trying to understand this phenomenon or the situation, right? Like, why do we feel the need to always be in such a hurry? Or why do we always feel like we're behind in life? Why do we always feel like we're not accomplishing enough? Even people who are successful still feel like they're just not enough. Why is that? And in trying to figure that out, I realized something that I had never really considered before. And I want to share it with you because maybe you haven't considered it either. And it's this idea that Jesus walked. It's not just a Kanye West song, but it's a way of being. And I think it really could serve us all in such a way to really recognize that maybe we're not actually behind. Maybe we don't need to apologize for our pace ever. Maybe when we're told to slow down, it's an invitation to something so much more beautiful, a different way of living, a better way of living, a better way of existing. If you think about and his ministry, he had 3 years to minister, 3 years. And not once when you read scripture do you read about Jesus running anywhere. In fact, everywhere he went, he was walking. And we can see so many different instances when you read through the Gospels of the pace with which Jesus moved and with Jesus lived his life. And not just Jesus, but God rested. We can fall into this habit or this trap of like, oh, I got to do this with the kids, or, oh, I got to do the laundry, or, I don't know. I'm just saying random chores that like come to mind. But I'm just thinking like we always feel like there's so much urgency and we attach so much doom and gloom to not getting things done by a certain time that's not actually there, that doesn't actually exist. And we put so much pressure on ourselves to be so much and to do so much and to have so much and to experience everything, to do everything. And it's no secret, like we're more burned out than we've ever been, right? Mental health is we have all of the information and we're so advanced and yet we're so miserable and we're so disconnected. When I think about the fact that Jesus walked, I come to terms with an idea that speed is not congruent for spiritual living. And I think sometimes we can get caught up in moving so fast that we forget about God. We forget to check in with God. We forget to talk to God. We forget to make space to hear God. And if we're not making that space, just think about the guidance that we're missing out on, the wisdom that we're missing out on, the blessings that we're missing out on, all because we're in such a hurry to get to the next thing, to get to the next accomplishment, to get to the next goal. And if we're to follow Jesus's example, we were probably never meant to be in such a hurry. Jesus wants to walk with us. Jesus wants us to walk with him. That's the invitation for us. It's almost like we live in a world that maybe doesn't want us to have that. It's almost like we have an enemy that would rather have us be so focused on having more, doing more, than actually being in relationship with God, having that relationship and taking that time. I guess what I really want to say is, if you're somebody who's been feeling like you're behind in life, maybe you're not. Maybe you're right on time. If you're somebody who's just been feeling so tired, overwhelmed, exhausted, and you feel like you don't have...
Let me switch hands here.
You feel like you don't have time to slow down. You feel like it's just not possible for you to slow down. Maybe that's not actually true. And maybe that's the opportunity. Maybe that's where the blessing is. Maybe that's where the breakthrough is. Maybe the breakthrough is on the other side of us slowing down. Maybe more ease and more abundance is on the other side of learning how to slow down. But we're also conditioned to move to the next thing, move to the next thing. We're also conditioned to think that if we're not achieving something, then we're failing. We're also this idea that like you have to keep pushing, you got to push through, you got to grind. There's this hustle culture, there's this survival mode that like so many people are living with, and it's not even necessary. And where does it even get us? At some point I had to ask myself the question, like, how much is enough? How much is enough? Why am I in such a hurry? Why am I pushing so hard? Where am I trying to go? I ask my dog this all the time when we're walking and she starts pulling on her leash. I'm like, girl, Where are you in a hurry to go? Let's just enjoy this walk. But then I find myself doing the same thing. And what I've found is giving myself permission to just exist where I am, giving myself permission to slow down and move at a slower pace, to take each day at a slower pace. I have less anxiety. I'm less worried about the future because I'm able to appreciate everything that I have in the moment. I'm less worried about what's going to happen next because I'm slowing down to appreciate and recognize how good it already is. I'm not putting so much pressure on myself to be more successful than I already am because I can actually enjoy the success that I'm at. And I think sometimes when we talk about this idea of slowing down, some people think that it means you have to like lose your ambition. No, I'm not anti-ambition at all. But we have to check our heart. We have to check our posture. What is the ambition rooted in? Is the ambition rooted in scarcity? Is the ambition rooted in lack? Is the ambition rooted in trying to prove something? Is the ambition rooted in this fear that we have that will never be enough? What is the ambition rooted in? Because if it's rooted in any of those things, it's not serving us. Generally speaking, I think ambition can be a little bit overrated. If it's not adding to your life, if it's taking away from your life, you know? I feel like so many people are carrying so much weight and so much pressure to be somewhere, to have everything figured out. I think that it's so easy to look online and see other people who think, you know, it looks like they have all the answers and it looks like they have it all figured out, and we're so quick to judge ourselves and we're so quick to question our own pace and we're so quick to think that we're behind. And if that's you on the other side of the screen right now, I just want to give you a hug and I just want to remind you that Jesus walked and God rested. So who are you to think that the same isn't available to you? Who are you? And you know what? On another note, there's just so much arrogance to these people that are talking about how you got to grind and how you got to hustle and this, that, and the other. Just so much arrogance when you think about the fact that Jesus walked. Jesus walked. So why are we killing ourselves out here? Why are we dying? Why are we dying over these things that we're trying to achieve and accumulate? Why are we killing ourselves over it when Jesus walked? Anyways, the reason I started this channel is to help us all slow down and focus on what really matters. And if you're on that journey with me, thanks for being here. Consider subscribing. My name is Sid Scott. I'll see you in the next video.